I welcome you all for Standard 10th, Subject Science and Technology Part 2. Today we will be starting with chapter number 6, Animal Classification, Module 1. My name is Ms. Jagjeet Kaur. Students, before beginning with Module 1, let us understand what are the learning objectives. So in this module, you all will be understanding about the history of animal classification. Under history of animal classification, we will be summarizing the history of classification, what we have learned in our lower classes. Then we will be understanding about the benefits of animal classification. Then after that, we will be learning about the traditional method of animal classification. Then we will be learning the new method of animal classification, or we can say as new system of animal classification. So under new system of classification, there are some criteria, and the criteria are grades of organization, body symmetry, germinal layers, body cavity, and segmentation. Students, can you recall which criteria are used for classification of organisms? Yes, some of the criteria used to classify organisms are as follows. Complexity of cell structure, that means whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Then complexity of body organization, whether unicellular or multicellular. Then presence or absence of cell wall. In plants, cell wall is present, and in animals, cell wall is absent. Then mode of nutrition, whether it is autotrophic, heterotrophic, and saprophytic. Then mode of reproduction, whether it's asexual or sexual. Students, with the help of criteria of animal classification, complete the following chart. So now here we are supposed to classify the living organisms. Now living organisms are further classified as, yes, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Prokaryotic belongs to kingdom Monera, and eukaryotic organisms are further classified as unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. And unicellular organisms belongs to kingdom Protista, and multicellular organisms are further classified with the presence or absence of cell wall. That means with cell wall and without cell wall. So with cell wall, the organisms can be autotrophs and heterotrophs. Further, autotrophs belongs to kingdom Plantae, heterotrophs belong to kingdom Fungi, and the multicellular organisms without the cell wall belongs to kingdom Animalia. Now the next question is how the plants are classified. So the plants are classified on the basis of presence or absence of organs, then presence or absence of separate conducting tissues for conduction of water and food, then presence or absence of flowers, fruits and seeds, then whether seeds are enclosed within a fruit or not, and depending upon the number of cotyledons in the seed. Students, there is great diversity among the animals on the earth. There are about 7 million species of different animals, and depending upon the similarities and differences among these animals, they have been classified. So such systematic classification makes it easy to study the great diverse animal forms. Students, now let us understand the history of classification. So before that, we will summarize the history of classification. Time to time, different scientists have tried to classify the animals. Greek philosopher Aristotle was the first to perform the animal classification. Aristotle classified the animals according to the criteria like body size, habits, and habitats. Further, as per the new developments in science, references were changed and thereby the criteria of animal classification too. Classification proposed by Aristotle is known as artificial method, and besides Aristotle, artificial method of classification was followed by Theophrastus, Pliny, John Ray, and Linnaeus. Later on, natural system of classification was followed, and it was used by Dobzhansky and Mayer. A natural system of classification was based on various criteria like body organization, types of cells, chromosomes, biochemical properties, etc. Then after the natural system of classification, the system of classification based on evolution was also brought into practice. And it was used by Carl Woos, who has proposed the animal classification, which is based on evolution, and it is based on criteria like presence or absence of notochord. Now students, what are the benefits of animal classification? So by placing the animals in proper classified groups, their study becomes convenient. Then by studying few animals from each group, understanding the entire group becomes easy. Animal classification leads to better understanding of animal evolution. Identification of animals can be done with great accuracy. The relationship of animals with other living organisms is better understood. The habitat of each animal and its exact role in the nature can be understood by learning animal classification. And various adaptations of animals can be studied. Now let's study about the traditional method of animal classification. Now students, we are talking about animal classification. So what is animal classification? That is formation of groups and subgroups of animals by taking into account their similarities and differences is called animal classification. Then traditionally, depending upon presence or absence of the notochord, the animal kingdom has been divided into two groups, that is non-chordates and chordates. Now let's study the characters of non-chordates. So the characters of non-chordates are as follows. Body is not supported by rod like notochord. Now what is notochord? Notochord is a long rod-like supporting structure present on the dorsal side of animal body. It keeps the nerve tissue isolated from the remaining body. Then the next character, pharyngeal gill slits are absent in the non-chordates. Then if the nerve cord is present, it is on the ventral side and it is solid and paired. And if heart is present, it is on the dorsal side. Now let's see the characters of chordates. In chordates, body is supported by rod-like notochord. Pharyngeal gill slits or lungs are present for respiration. The nerve cord is present on the dorsal side of the body and it is hollow. Heart is present on the ventral side of the body. So students, now let us see what is dorsal side and ventral side. So dorsal side, the word dorsal is taken from Latin word dorsum, which means back. So we can say that the dorsal side of an organism refers to the back or upper side of an organism. Now what is ventral side? Now the word ventral is taken from Latin word venter, which means belly. So the ventral side refers to the front or lower side of an organism. Students, kingdom Animalia is divided into two subkingdoms, that is subkingdom non-chordates and subkingdom chordates. So subkingdom non-chordates are further divided into 10 phylum, that is phylum Protozoa, phylum Porifera, phylum Cnidaria, phylum Platyhelminthes, phylum Eschelminthes, phylum Annelida, phylum Arthropoda, phylum Mollusca, phylum Echinodermata, and phylum Hemichordata. And subkingdom chordate is divided into phylum chordate, and further phylum chordate is divided into three subphylums, that is subphylum Urochordata, subphylum Cephalochordata, and subphylum Vertebrata. Further, subphylum Vertebrata is divided into six classes, that is class Cyclostomata, class Pisces, class Amphibia, class Reptilia, class Aves, and class Mammalia. Now students, let's understand about the five kingdom classification system. Robert Harding Whittaker, he was born on 27 December 1920 and he died on 20th October 1980. He was an American plant ecologist and he proposed five kingdom taxonomic classification as kingdom Animalia, kingdom Plantae, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Protista, and kingdom Monera. Now students, at present, according to the five kingdom classification system of Robert Whittaker, all multicellular animals are included in kingdom Animalia. And this system of classification is based upon some criteria like body organization, body symmetry, body cavity, germinal layers, and segmentation. Students, the various types of grades of organization are as follows. First one is protoplasmic grade organization. It is seen in unicellular animals and their body is composed of a single cell which performs all functions. For example, amoeba, paramecium, etc. Then the next is cellular grade organization. It is seen in multicellular animals in which tissues are not formed. For example, porifera. Then the third grade organization is cell tissue grade organization. It is seen in some animals in which cells come together to form tissues and perform different body functions. For example, Cnidaria, that is example is hydra, jellyfish, coral and sea anemones. Then next is tissue organ grade organization. In this type of organization, tissues are organized to form some organs, although complete organs are not formed. For example, flatworms. Then next is organ system grade organization. It is seen in animals in which different organs come together to form organ systems that perform specific functions. For example, human beings and all other higher animals. Now students, let's learn about body symmetry. So based on body symmetry, animals can be classified into three groups, that is asymmetrical, radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry. So now first let us learn about asymmetrical. So in this type of symmetry, there is no such imaginary axis of the body through which we can get two equal halves. For example, amoeba, paramecium, and some sponges. Now the next is radial symmetry. So in this type of symmetry, if an imaginary cut passes through the central axis of any plane of the body, it gives two equal halves. For example, starfish. So in starfish, there are 5 different planes passing through the central axis of the body, through which we can get two equal halves. Then the third one is bilateral symmetry. In this type of symmetry, there is only one such imaginary axis of the body through which we can get two equal halves. For example, insects, fishes, frog, birds, human, etc. Now students, there are some differences between the grades of organization and symmetry. Now let us understand that difference. The exact difference between grades of organization and symmetry is that body organization is the arrangement of smaller units into longer ones or the larger ones. Whereas body symmetry is the number of symmetrical parts the animal can be divided into. And it can be explained with the help of the following example. Like in cnidarians, cells come together to form tissues which perform body functions, and this type of body organization is called cell tissue grade organization. However, cnidarians are radially symmetrical, that is, when their body is cut through an imaginary central axis of any plane of body, it gives two equal halves. And similarly, in case of flatworms, they show tissue organ grade organization, in which tissues are organized to form some organs. And these flatworms are bilaterally symmetrical, that is, there is only one imaginary axis through which one can get two equal halves. So students, this was the difference between the grades of organization and the symmetry. Now let's learn about the germinal layers. Now students, during the initial embryonic period of any multicellular animal, there is formation of germinal layers or germ layer. These germ layers give rise to new tissues in the developing animal, and the primitive animals have only two germ layers called ectoderm and endoderm. And this condition is called as diploblastic. And the higher animals have three germ layers, that is ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. And this is called as triploblastic nature. Mostly cnidarians are diploblastic while all other animals are triploblastic. Now students, let us learn about body cavity. Now coelom means body cavity, and it is situated between the body wall and the internal organs of the body. The coelom is formed during early embryonic life in case of multicellular animals, and it is formed from either mesoderm or gut. And coelom, when present in the body, those animals are called eocoelomate. Phylum Annelida onwards are eocoelomate animals, and they are animals with true body cavity. And students, when coelom is not formed from mesoderm or gut but are formed from other tissues, it is called pseudocoelomate. Only as helminthes animals have such coelom, and hence they are called as pseudocoelomate. Then next is like those animals in which coelom are absent are called acoelomate animals. Porifera, Cnidaria and Platyhelminthes are acoelomate animals. Now students, let's understand about body segmentation. Students, if the body of animals is divided into small, similar units, then such body is called as segmented body. And each small unit in this body is called as segments. For example, animals like earthworm from phylum Annelida. So students, this was the end of module 1. Now let us summarize what we have learned in this module. So we learned that depending upon the similarities and differences among these animals, they have been classified. Then formation of groups and subgroups of animals by taking into account their similarities and differences is called as animal classification. And depending upon presence and absence of the notochord, the animal kingdom has been divided into two groups, that is non-chordates and chordates. Non-chordates are further classified into 10 phylums and chordates are grouped together in a single phylum, that is phylum Chordata. Further, phylum Chordata has been divided into 3 subphylums. Now students, here is an assignment for you all. Now body organization of human has been shown in the following figure. Now which organs are present in the human body? Students, here you are supposed to recognize the organs which are present in the human body. So let's begin. A is mouth, organ B is heart, organ C is bone, organ D is kidney, organ E is muscle, organ F is skin, organ G is blood vessels, organ H is liver, organ I is lung, and organ J is brain. Thank you, dear students. I will be back with module 2. Till then, goodbye and have a nice day.